Welcome back, hockey fans. It's the Goodwin brothers, Adam
and Evan,
back at it with another episode of Off the Iron Podcast, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Barbecue Catering. Drop by their storefront, pick yourself up a lunch combo for just $12, including any one of their signature smoked meats, sausages, or burgers with 2 sides and a drink. Open 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on weekdays. Go visit them at 5303 68th Avenue, Southeast Calgary. And also, just a little tidbit for you guys, all the foodies out there. Just a little heads up for you.
Ooh.
Yeah, on Monday, which is Family Day, Monday, so that'll be the 15th. Little mac and cheese burger coming your way. It's going to be delicious. A little crusty cheese action on top. Beef burger, bacon, brioche bun, the whole 9. Does that sound good, Evan?
Yeah, that's got my mouth watering, actually.
Yeah?
Might be stopping by to get one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Just make sure you call and order yourself one to ensure that you get one. You know, quantities last. Quantities are limited, I should say. But that's going to be a good one. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Off the Iron Podcast. On Twitter, we're at Off the Iron Pod. Our Gmail, offtheironpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, on YouTube, if you want the visual fix, Off the Iron Podcast, you'll see our logo, our black logo with some flames and a hockey player. He's holding a stick with a microphone on it, the whole 9, you know. If you want the visual
drafted
fix.
Or concept was kind of like the old Islanders logo with the net in the background and the fishermen. So
yeah, but
Adam and I both really like that logo.
Instead of being a fisherman, he's a broadcaster with spicy takes. He's got the flaming microphone.
He's got the flaming mic. There you
go. Yes, back at it with another episode. We got lots to get to on this episode. A little bit more positive in terms of the Flames side of things this time around.
Just before you jump in, I should let listeners know I'm behind on posting videos to YouTube. I've got our last 2 episodes to get up there still. But they
did I just remind you with that little tidbit about the YouTube channel?
I keep forgetting to actually. I have the videos. I just haven't uploaded them to YouTube. So they will be up there this weekend, people. So definitely check them out for sure, including this episode as well.
Yes, which we are recording on February 12th at 9:07 p.m. currently, the day after the Flames beat the Vancouver Canucks 3-1 in regulation. And as the rest of Alberta falls into a polar vortex, as it's being called. I mean, it's been, what, minus 28 to minus 30 around that region.
It's
for the entire week. When the province is going into a deep freeze, of course, that's when the Flames heat up, as they have a little bit, you know.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Nice little wordplay there, huh?
It's been so cold, my dog won't even go outside. That's when I know it's really cold.
And knowing your dog, that's pretty big news, because she likes to go out there. She likes to just roll around in the snow. And
yeah, if it's like minus 15, you can't even get her to come inside. So it's cold.
She likes to bury her face in the snow like I like to bury my face in a nice warm pepperoni pizza. Like, she just gets right in there. And it's all over her snout.
Well, snow is like cocaine for dogs. So it's she would definitely bury her face in a pepperoni pizza if you put it on the floor for her too.
Facts, not surprising. But yes, cold week in Alberta, but the Flames are heating up. We're very thankful for that.
We should also say the Oilers have heated up as well. They've won 6 of 7.
Yes, thanks to none other than Mike Smith, the savior.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Finally giving Mikko Koskinen a break. Mikko Koskinen had played all but one of the games so far. I think Stuart Skinner started the other one, but both Alberta teams looking good the past week. We'll start with the Flames. Of course, 3 straight regulation wins. And one player in particular that I want to get to. It's, as you said, a couple games into the season. You think we have a goalie? I'm ready to confirm we do, in fact, have a goalie.
Yes, we have.
And a really, really, really good one.
Yes, definitely.
Finally, a number one.
It's so reassuring. Like whenever the Flames are not firing on all cylinders, which has happened more often than not this season. We'd be down there with Ottawa if it wasn't for our goalie right now. And I fully believe that. Maybe not with Ottawa, but definitely with Vancouver. It's so nice to be, whatever, Markstrom's back there.
Yeah.
When there's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 or something like that, it's like, it's Markstrom. Okay, whatever.
and I'll take the the sort of testimonials from former players like Rhett Warner. I listen to the morning show all the time. He played with two of the greatest goaltenders of the past 20 years in Dominic Hasek and Mika Kiprusoff. So when you have those absolute brick walls back there, it's a little bit of human nature just to kind of be like, I don't have to get this because I know that guy's back there waiting around for it. And we actually saw Chris Tanev on the broadcast last night. I think it was between the second and third period, saying, I think Dan Murphy asked him a question, are you relying a little bit too much on Markstrom right now? And Chris Tanev was like, yes, 100%, absolutely. We got to pick it up in front of him, which they came out, had a better third period, but overall, Markstrom just propelling them to victory right now. And it's so nice to see after this goaltending carousel we've had since Mika Kiprusoff retired in 2013.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see some stability between the pipes for sure. It's going to go a long way if the Flames do make the playoffs in this division, which I think both of us predicted they would, and I think they will. I think they're too good a team right now. Well, not too good, but they're too good a team, I guess, to miss the playoffs, especially in this division when you have two teams at the bottom already. But it's great. I'm loving it. I love his style of goaltending too. So for listeners who might have been new to the podcast, I'm a goaltender as well. Played goalie all through minor hockey and all that kind of stuff. Didn't say I was a good goalie, but I did have the nickname Swiss Cheese. So
yeah, exactly.
But I just love his style. His technique is so flawless. He reminds me a lot of Carey Price too. If listeners don't know, Carey Price is by far my favorite goaltender right now. And he's just, what can you say about them? When he's on, you're winning the game. No questions, if, ands, or buts about it. But he reminds me a lot of Carey Price. He's a big guy. Like, I didn't realize Markstrom was huge, but he's one of the tallest guys on the team. And he's so athletic too. So he can get side to side really quick. He's always in the right position. Pucks just seem to hit his crest all the time. And to be honest, I had no idea because, obviously I was cursing his name for the last 3-4 years, being between the pipes for Vancouver every time they played the Flames. But he's got a lightning quick glove hand too, which I did not realize. He's really good, really good.
Yeah, I think you can count on one hand maybe this year how many, not necessarily bad goals, but like a little questionable goals. But other than that, he's just been absolutely rock solid steady. And
I think I've been 2 goals that he probably would have liked to have back. Other than that, he's had no chance on any of them.
Yeah, one of them, I remember the positioning was a little off. I think it was a Toronto game. But other than that, it's just been so nice to not have to explain away goals. You know what I mean? I remember coming on this podcast many times last season, it's not Riddick's fault. If you look at this and this and this, it's don't have to do that with Markstrom, which has been a breath of fresh air to say the least. The goalie graveyard that Calgary has become, but we're gushing over him and it's nice to have, but of course he's not the sole reason why they've turned it around this past week. They did play a very good game against Edmonton, outside of maybe the first 10 minutes.
Before we move on from Markstrom, can I finish it off with one last thought?
Yeah.
It's not a good thing because I think he's plugging a lot of holes with the Flames right now. Defensively, they're vulnerable, the Flames. They definitely are. Their defensive zone coverage is horrendous at times. And people just seem to get wide open in the slot. I don't know how they do it. All the Flames are in the zone, but they still seem to get open in front of the net all the time. So I'm a little nervous about that because that shit will bite you if you don't clean that up. That can come back to turn a winning streak around in a hurry. But so I hope the Flames don't develop some lazy habits. I don't think they will. I hope their coach keeps them on pace there, and the defensive coach, make sure they're doing their job and not just relying on Markstrom to plug the hole. Although it is nice to know that you have a reliable goaltender back there, and that's taking nothing away from Riddick. Riddick will be a fantastic backup goalie. I don't think he was ready for the full workload, especially in the season like this, where it's game every 2 nights sort of thing. I just wanted to point out the Flames need to be a lot better defensively and help him out because he's making 30 to 40 saves a game, and over the course of a 56 game season, some fatigue and potentially an injury could come in there too because of fatigue. So we got to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, that's definitely a big key. He has, I think Pinder referenced it on the morning show a couple times that he has developed some injuries due to his workload in Vancouver the past couple of seasons. Health has always been a question mark with Markstrom, and he has plugged a lot of holes in Vancouver the past couple of years, and you're seeing the effects of that now with him not being there. The team struggling mightily. Not just for that reason, 100%, but definitely a big reason. And, we'll take it. The Flames will take it. And speaking of Markstrom, did you like his pad setup for that game against Edmonton? The whole blasty setup?
Love it. It was awesome. Riddick's were, I didn't really like the Flames.
Yeah, he's got blasty on
him.
The pads too.
I love Markstrom's. They were like nice and clean. They look like Team Germany pads is what they look like. No, I thought it was good. Actually, those jerseys are growing on me. I don't mind them.
Yes, I like them. I don't love them just because of the Blasty. I know is very a lot of people are very fond of it. For me, it's just not my favorite logo for the Flames. But the one thing that I noticed that I think is it seems a little bit out of place is the white C's on the shoulder pads, or on the shoulder patches. Yeah. It's like, why aren't they like the regular red and yellow? They just kind of stick out to me like a sore thumb. But other than that, the jerseys are clean. But especially with that thin striping now. I didn't like the thick striping like with the original Blasty, but that thin striping now, much better, much cleaner, a little bit more modern looking, and a little bit more eye pleasing. But they rocked the Blasty uniform for the first time in that 6-4 win last Saturday on.
1-0 with Blasty.
1-0, undefeated. That's obviously the key, right? But that was a really refreshing game to see. Obviously, Edmonton has been very up and down this season, and it was nice to see the Flames not shut down McDavid, but contain him. Him and Draisaitl, I believe they both only had a point each in that game, if I'm not mistaken. McDavid had a goal and assist, but the one goal was on the power play, and it was an absolute beauty.
Yeah, one thing that needs to be stated about this game is Edmonton kicked her ass for the first period. Mm-hmm. I mean, the shots were after one, I think 16-3 or 16-4. Mm-hmm. And then Markstrom, of course, shuts the door for the most part. They did go into, the Flames scored on the first shot of the game. Mm-hmm. I was 5 minutes late getting home. I didn't get home till like 8:05. And I turned on the TV and I was like, 1-0. Holy crap.
What is this?
What is this? There was like 2 minutes gone in the first period. So I actually missed Lindholm's goal. But it sounded like it was a nice shot. Yeah, if it wasn't for Markstrom, it would have been like 4-1 at the end of the first period. So, which would have been a drastically different game. But it was a great game. It was pretty up-tempo for the most part. It wasn't quite as dirty or as chippy as I thought it would be. There's a few scrums, of course. Yeah. There always will be. But it wasn't like the slugfest that you're used to, especially last year with all the Cassian, Kachuk kind of thing.
And, the old goalie fight with Talbot and Smith.
Yeah, definitely wasn't that for sure. But I'm glad the Flames decided to turn it around, that's for sure, because it was not looking good there for a little bit. And who else would turn it around but Milan Lucic?
Yeah, that's, a major key to that win was the new forming of that so-called third line, I guess you could say. Michael Backlund, with by far his best game of the season, I thought, against Edmonton. He also looked good against Winnipeg the other night as well. But we we weren't very optimistic about Backlund's play to that point on our last episode. Our last episode, we were a little heated, especially with Backlund. We felt like, or I felt personally, like he has been a passenger a lot of the time and just hasn't seemed fully engaged. But he was ripping up and down the ice in that game. No thanks to being formed on a line with Milan Lucic and Andrew Mangiapane, who's
3M line 3.0.
Well. Yeah, exactly. Milan, Mangiapane, and Mikhail. It's Mikhail. You hear it pronounced both ways, Mikhail Backlund or Michael Backlund. I've heard it both ways, but I don't know why it came out Mikhail that time. But the bread man, Andrew Mangiapane, has been a big part of that line's success, and they've been the most steady and most consistent line, at least this past week. And it's led to 3 straight regulation wins, which has been very nice to see.
It was funny when Lucic scored that goal. I was like, of course it's Lucic.
Yeah.
But
especially
no, that line has been our best line, most effective line for the last 3 games for sure. Yeah, I didn't think these words would come out of my mouth, but Lucic has been flying out there. There's some pep in his step right now. He's not as slow as he was at the start of the season.
And I think a big key to that is getting him off the same line as Nordstrom. Because, like, I've been really hard on Nordstrom, and I think it's been well deserved. But, like, when you put those two together, like, you just can't do it. And we saw the immediate change in results with him going to 2 very, very capable top 9 forwards in Michael Backlund and Andrew Mangiapane, and it's just been night and day. And of course, with the Derek Ryan injury, we've rarely seen the 4th line out there. They haven't gotten much ice time this past week, especially.
Scored a goal though.
Yeah, they did. Byron Froze. Freeze, something like that. Frize, yeah. We had a nice little tip-in goal against Winnipeg on Tuesday, but without Ryan, we haven't seen that 4th line a lot, and I think that's been very much a positive thing. Obviously, as a hockey team, you want to roll 4 lines as much as you can, but when it comes time to shorten the bench at the end of the game to hold on to a result, you got to do it. And I was losing my mind a little bit at the end of this Edmonton-Calgary game because Nordstrom was caught out there with McDavid and Draisaitl.
I saw that.
With about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I lost my mind.
Yeah, I was yelling at the TV too. I was like, why is he on the ice?
Anybody but Nordstrom out there. But they were able to hold on despite Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl playing the last 5.5 minutes of the game. They didn't leave the ice. Of course, there was a TV timeout and then a Edmonton timeout and whistles and all that, but that's still heck of a long shift, probably the longest shift in the NHL this year, without a doubt. I would be surprised if that gets beat by any other players this year.
Yeah. So one notable moment in this game, I got to bring up Dylan Dubé's goal on the power play when he one-timed it, giving us one of the best memes already this year.
What was that? I don't get it.
It was a game face meme. It was
Yeah, it's like he morphed into a WWE wrestler there. If just straight meme mugging it.
You can Google it or search on Twitter and you'll find it all over the place. So, but just the fuck yeah face.
Yeah, I mean? You just thought it was the sickest goal ever. Just he was riled up, and of course that was a big goal in the game, I believe. Let me bring it up here.
Yeah, that was the game-winning goal.
It was actually the 4th goal. The Gaudreau's breakaway goal ended up being the game winner.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. I forgot the Oilers got a late one.
It was a big goal though, because that came about 1.5 minutes after Puljujarvi scored a minute into the 3rd period to tie it at 3.
Yeah,
and then that one on the power play from Dylan Dubé with the mean mug to boot. to make it 4-3, and then Gaudreau on the breakaway scores to make it 5-3. And
Koskinen's glove hand. Bum, 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 bum.
Big oof on that one, eh?
Yeah,
I mean,
the Flames exposed some of the goaltending woes for Edmonton that game for sure. Koskinen likely should have had the first goal. Definitely should have had Gaudreau's goal because it was like literally like right over his glove.
Yeah.
From like top of the circle too. It wasn't like he was right in tight.
No traffic too.
No traffic. Probably could have had Lucic's goal too if he was a little quicker getting across, but it just definitely was exposed a little bit, and the Edmonton sports media jumped all over that. Mm-hmm. Like they pretty much wrote off Koskinen after that game. Even my coworkers were like, "Man, our goaltending sucks."
Even to the point of Mark Spector writing an article entitled "Mike Smith, the Savior." And that's never a good position to be in. Credit to Mike Smith. He has responded with 2 nice games here for Edmonton after that one, including a shutout of Montreal.
Yeah, they played good. They looked good against Montreal.
They did. They did.
Credit where credit's due.
And speaking of looking good, how about those Montreal reverse retros?
Yeah, they're nice. I like them.
Montreal in blue. Who would have thought? I like it. I do.
I like it.
But
all right, let's move on from the Battle of Alberta. It was a great first installment. We got 9 more coming, which it's going to be crazy, especially as the season ticks on and these become super important. Well, I mean, they're all important, but you know what I mean. As the playoff picture becomes more and more clear.
Yes, definitely. And let's move on to the Winnipeg game. Couple notes from this game. Obviously, Pierre-Luc Dubois making his debut for the Winnipeg Jets didn't have too much of an impact in this one, and I'm sure you can chalk that up to hasn't played since late January, obviously with quarantine. And I think the game plan was to limit his minutes just to kind of get him worked back in. I think we saw him more in the third period, but didn't really make a huge impact on the game. But one player who did, and I'm sure you'll want to give him his props a little bit here for Winnipeg, Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Man, that guy's good. He's a flame killer, too. He always scores against the Flames. Mm-hmm. Him and Connor usually just put the 1-2 daggers right in the heart of all Flames fans. But yeah, no, I mean, just a pure goal-scoring talent. Like, just sniped a shot, a top corner over.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's Markstrom, right?
Yeah, Markstrom.
Yeah. On the power play from the half wall, just a beautiful shot. Finished off a nice feed for a second goal late in the second period there. But yeah, hell of a player. And he's, again, stepping up to the plate. He was one of the only players that stepped up in the playoffs for Winnipeg. Obviously, Scheifele was out, so that was a huge blow for them, and Laine as well. But back to Dubois. I thought, I noticed him quite a bit out there. He didn't have an impact on the score sheet, but he was throwing his body around. He was flying out there. I noticed him more than I would have noticed Patrick Laine. The only time I noticed Laine is when he's on the power play ripping one-timers. So, but yeah, no, I think it'll be a good trade for Winnipeg. I really do. I think once he finds his feet and settles in with his new line mates, I think a great addition. If that was me, I would have made the trade.
Definitely, and he looks happier already in Winnipeg. We saw his introductory press conference and just smiles all over the place. Probably happy to get out of old Columbus, Ohio there. But yeah, and I obviously it's the first game. I expect him to have a huge impact. He's going to be a number 1 center for them, or maybe number 2, depending on what Scheifele does here. But yeah, they're set down the middle in Winnipeg for the foreseeable future, definitely. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, we know he can bring it in the playoffs, was an absolute monster for Columbus last year. So he's a stud. But Nikolai Ehlers, man, so good in that game. Unfortunately for the Jets, though, the Flames were the better team, I thought, throughout the whole game.
First 60-minute effort of the season.
Yes, I actually think that was their most complete start to finish effort all season, just in all assets of the game, or all facets of the game, goaltending, D zone, neutral zone, and offensive zone. I just thought they were flying all night and didn't really give the Jets a lot. And I'll bring it up here just to be certain with it, but the high danger chances will sort of back that up. I believe the final tally was 10-1, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just bring it up here. But anything else from that game that you wanted to bring up?
All right, I'm glad the Flames showed some killer instinct for a chance or for a change. Getting the late power play there with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game and making Winnipeg, not Winnipeg, but Bull U pay for taking the stupid penalty. That was nice to see. Because that's what we're going to need to do, take advantage of those situations. Because I just know if that went into overtime, we would have lost. Someone on Winnipeg would have scored. It's just the way the Flames roll. But no, I mean, we're really evenly matched with Winnipeg. We're very two very even high skilled teams. Like it's although Winnipeg blew us out last game, the Flames never showed up. But most of our games are 1-goal games. Quite evenly matched. I'm just looking, shots on goal were pretty much equal, 29-27 Flames. Hits were pretty much equal. The only thing that was a little bit out of whack was giveaways, which the Flames had way more giveaways than the Jets. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, two pretty good teams. We're going to be battling with Winnipeg, I think, right to the bitter end here.
Yeah, and I have the final tally here. It was actually 12-1 high danger chances in Calgary's favor, but
overall, I didn't think it was that bad.
Overall, it felt like a pretty even game and two very evenly matched teams. When you think about it, elite goaltenders. I give the defensive core edge to Calgary, but I give the forward group edge to Winnipeg, if that makes sense. So it's a pretty well balanced team. We're definitely going to be battling for third and fourth with Winnipeg all year long. To me, I think Montreal and Toronto have sort of separated themselves. They give themselves a little bit of a cushion here. And I think it's going to be Winnipeg, Calgary, and Edmonton battling for those 3 to 5 spots. And that's about it. But that was definitely the most complete 60-minute effort for the Flames to date. Kind of sucks that they weren't able to carry that forward to the game against Vancouver here. But, they did. And they still got the win. They got the W. It wasn't 100% deserved, but hard to critique a win, I guess, when you get 2 points in a shortened season.
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit of a trend for the Flames on the road. They can't seem to get motivated. I don't know if that's because of the COVID thing and they're locked in their hotel rooms. There's nothing for them to do, really, which would suck. I'm not going to lie. It would be very boring when you're in the city for 6-7 days when you're playing 3 or 4 games. And you can't leave your hotel room. Like that would suck, especially for most of those guys who've played there for 6-7 years and can't go see family or anything like that when they're back in town or anything like that. So, the Flames were flat. I mean, Vancouver was by far the better team through 2 periods. The Flames did take over in the third, but Markstrom.
Yep.
Like he's the only reason why we won that game. Just like he's the only reason why Vancouver won a few games last year too. So he's really making the Vancouver fan base wish that Jim Benning knew what he was doing and kept him around.
Yeah, that hasn't looked good on Vancouver. Markstrom burning them, and then of course we talked about last week Toffoli burning them.
Yeah,
with like 8 of his goals this year against Vancouver. It's tough to see from if you're a Vancouver fan, and I'm sure that was one of the reasons why hashtag Fire Benning was trending numerous times throughout this week, which whether you're a fan of Jim Benning or not, change may be around the corner. If
change is coming in Vancouver. It has to. Whether it's the coach Travis Green or Benning or both. We'll see, but change is coming for sure. I mean, the Flames got some puck luck this game too. So I'm calling them power play goals. They were a second or two after the power play expired, both of them. So obviously the guy was not in the play yet, so I'm calling them power play goals. One off of a defenseman and one a double deflection off both Vancouver defensemen.
A double doink. Did we see that in the NFL playoffs a couple years ago?
Both goal posts.
The double doink field goal kick. But Yeah, a little fortunate in this game, and then Goudreau with that breakaway goal at the end off a great Sean Monahan pass. Definitely took over in the third, but yeah, definitely fortunate to be up 2-1 after 2 periods.
Calgary was owed some bounces.
Yes,
people though. Our first 4 or 5 games, all the goals scored on us were off our own defensemen. So
yeah, I think
we earned that one.
I think only one goal was actually scored by the opposing team on Markstrom in the first
when
like
we
4
beat
games.
Vancouver 3-2, we scored all 5 goals.
Yeah, exactly. So, like they say, it all evens out in the end.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
it was just a weird game in general. Even Vancouver's goal, Besser, was weird. He like stopped and the puck, no one knew where it was, and it was just sitting there. And he's like, "Okay,
yeah, just poke it in."
Just a weird game in general. But I was impressed with Goudreau on that breakaway, though. To be able to, it might have been a little bit of a soft play from Myers, but to be able to kind of like, what's it called, protect the puck from Myers, who is a giant. And I mean, Johnny's not a huge guy. He's just average size. And then what a laser shot to the top corner. Like that barely went in.
Yeah.
But it was so quick. Man, it was nice shot. Full steam too. So it's nice to see Johnny clicking.
Yeah.
I think he's going to quickly surpass his goal total from last year on this pace. He's already got 8. I think he only had 18 last year. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's very refreshing to see Goudreau and Monahan clicking. Obviously, Monahan hasn't put the puck in the net quite as much this year, but he's still contributing offensively with the assist to Goudreau, who's picked up the goal-scoring slack. And, we've been very critical of Johnny Gaudreau on this podcast over the past couple of years. And it's nice to see him sort of regaining his form a little bit here. Hopefully he can carry it forward for the rest of the season, including the playoffs, which has always been a big question mark. But obviously remains to be seen with the rest of the season upcoming. But anything else from the Flames that we want to discuss, or do you want to move on to the rest of the North Division?
Just checking our schedule here. We've already talked about the 3M line 3.0.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Tkachuk?
He the best way to put it right now, he seems just off. Like there's just something. I don't think it's injury, because there hasn't been any sort of whispers about it. He might be banged up, or I haven't really seen any footage of where you think he might be banged up. He just seems like he's a little bit disengaged right now, which is
that's a good
weird
word for it.
Which is weird for Matthew Tkachuk. Ever since Muzzin flipped the puck at him and they had that players only meeting after, there's been, some talk that maybe, his teammates, the rest of the Flames, sort of told him to tone it down a little bit. And maybe he was a little butthurt that they didn't come to his defense, when I think a lot of them didn't even see what happened, because the buzzer went, they were skating towards the bench, which, you know.
I mean, you got to, put your ego aside on that one for sure.
Yeah.
I
hope
come
that's
on.
not the
The
case.
game was over. So there's no point. You play Toronto like 9 more times or whatever it is, 8 more times, 7 more times. Like you'll get them back. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's just one moment in a game that I know it's frustrating. At that point, they weren't playing good. But you just got to take one for the team and sort of move past it and move on to the next one and give it every single night, which been very quiet the past few games.
Yeah, he was mucking it up in the Edmonton game. I'll give him credit there. Was very quiet against Winnipeg. I don't think I even noticed him out there, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was getting involved in Vancouver as well. Like he caused a few scrums. Surprisingly, it's been a lot more chippy with Vancouver than Edmonton so far. Maybe it's because we've played Vancouver 3 times already, but it was. I'm not sure. I've kind of aligned with you. I don't. Something's off there. Whether he's, a little he's butthurt about his teammates not coming to his aid, but definitely like threw a tantrum there. So, I don't know. Yeah, tantrum's probably a good word to describe it.
Yeah. So hopefully that's not the case going forward. I mean, I'm sure he'll figure it out and he'll get back to form here. One other note,
which it does suck a little bit because he's dragging that top line down. Like you haven't heard much from Dubé and you haven't heard much from Lindholm outside of the goal he scored against Edmonton, right? So
yeah, Dubé actually played a team low like 6 minutes and 50 seconds against Vancouver here the past game. So that was a little bit disappointing to see, but he wasn't very good to start the game. That's for sure.
Yeah.
One other note, Bennett, after his trade request or whatever you want to call it, after that story broke, of course, finds himself back on the top line, just like we all envisioned, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Although I don't think it's a bad fit on the top line because he is quick and he can get in there and bang crash and create some room for Gaudreau and Monahan for sure. And he does have hands sometimes, but he struggles to put it together when he's going full speed. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like you can see he's trying, but his hands can't keep up to what he's thinking or whatever. But I don't mind Bennett there. I really don't.
I think it's the most tenable situation right now. Obviously, if you continue to play him in the bottom six, I don't think that's going to be good just in terms of, we already know that a change of scenery is probably preferred. But if he's getting top line minutes with the two most offensively prolific players on the team in Gaudreau and Monahan, I think that's a spot that's sort of, you'd be okay with that for the time being. And, we've seen good and bad so far with him on the top line. He's sort of been Sam Bennett, he got the goal off that nice feed from Gaudreau against Edmonton, but then you see the other times, he carries the puck and sometimes he gives it away or the play just kind of dies on his stick. You get the good and the bad with Bennett on the top line, but I think it's the most reasonable situation right now, considering the Derek Ryan injury and, the Mangiapane Lucic back of the line firing. Don't want to break up that Tkachuk Lindholm Dubé line. So I think it's sort of the best plan going forward. Hopefully, I mean, we've said it so many times over the past couple of years. Hopefully this is the start of something. Don't have my fingers or don't have my hopes high for that, but definitely the most reasonable situation going forward, I think.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how it works. I mean, it has been bad, so hopefully it can continue on this mediocre pace, although I do think Bennett does drag that line down a little bit. Johnny, outside of the breakaway goal, was pretty quiet since Bennett was on the line, even though Bennett did score against the Edmonton. But anyways, we'll see how they've only been together for 3 games, so give them some time to get some chemistry going and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's move on to the North Division roundup if you want to, or did you have something you were going to bring up?
I was going to say, let's move on. I wanted to talk about Vancouver. So in particular, one player on Vancouver, oh my God, I cannot talk today. I must be tired.
Vancouver,
Vancouver, and that's Quinn Hughes. So I heard or saw some interesting stats on Quinn Hughes. So might be a runner up for the Green Jacket this year.
Yeah, he's down there.
Definitely offensively talented for sure. Yeah. Quinn Hughes. So he's got 17 points already this season in 17 games, 1 goal and 16 assists. Most of that I'm sure is from the power play. Yeah. But he's also a -13, one of the league leading -13. So when you're on the ice for 17 goals and you're still a -13, that's not good.
Yeah. And we've seen not only the statistics, but some interesting quotes from him saying, a lot of good guys left in the offseason. Obviously, Tanev coming in Calgary was his D partner last year. And sort of seeing the effects of him not playing with Tanev. He's instead playing with Jordy Ben, not Jamie, as Andrew Walker put it on that sarcastic player profile a couple years back. But yeah, it's been a a steep drop off in terms of his overall defensive play. We always knew that he was more offensively gifted than defensively, but it's been really bad this year. And he almost reminds me a little bit of Erik Karlsson's early years. Obviously, he sort of figured out his defensive zone as his career went on. Not so much this year, but we'll save that for another time. But we know the offensive talent is there, the power play, quarterback ability, the puck moving, the skating, and he's so dynamic that way, but just leaves a lot to be desired, his defensive play.
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting about Tanev, because I think Tanev, I had no idea, and I was very critical of that Tanev signing at first, because I didn't realize how good a defenseman he actually was. I thought it was an extreme overpay, but what the Flames are getting from him now, I think he's well worth the money so far. He's got to stay healthy, but he's done the same thing with Noah Hannafin on our side now. Like he's just Noah Hannafin's game is just so much better now. No, he deserves a little credit there too, but I think a lot of it is playing with Tanev, who's so steady Eddie defensively, and you're seeing the effects of not being with Tanev on the other side of that with Quinn Hughes. So yeah. I'll eat my words. That Tanev signing is turning out to be half decent now. So, I didn't see that coming.
I was just about to say that. I'm like, yeah, we'll eat our words on that one, because we were both very critical. It just seemed like Troy Brouwer, but defensively, or on the defensive end. So maybe that was a little bit harsh and jumping the gun a little bit. He's been very good so far this year, and hopefully we continue to see that great play from him. Anything else with Vancouver, or do you want to move on to the top and the bottom of the North Division here?
Well, Vancouver's at the bottom, so
yeah. Except for Ottawa.
Yeah. But no, with Vancouver, it's interesting. I watched the game. I'm just thinking back. I don't think I noticed Bo Horvat out there once that game.
Yeah, he's been quiet. He's been real quiet.
Yeah, and I think he's one of the reasons why Vancouver's really struggling. Obviously, they've got some defensive woes to shore up there, but you notice Pettersson. Pettersson was playing quite well.
He had a nice assist on that Besser goal yesterday.
Yeah, Besser was flying. You noticed him every time he was out on the ice. But outside of those two, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, very meh.
Yeah, even JT Miller was just meh.
Yeah, he seems a little salty this year. I don't know what it is. He seems like he's like a little something just doesn't seem to be fitting there this year. Obviously, when you're losing as much as they are right now, that'll sort of wear on you and grind guys down. But we saw that little spat with him and Holtby in Toronto last week.
He pretty much gave up on the play after.
And Holtby giving him the old stink eye, as Kramer called it.
Yeah, Holtby hasn't been very good either. So,
yeah, for sure. I just wanted to touch quickly on the North Division, the top and the bottom. Obviously, Ottawa, historically bad right now. They are so bad. Like they're to the point where, you have to beat them. There's no excuse. The Flames play them, I think it's 5 out of 7 games coming up here at the end of February. Anything less than 9 points is unacceptable.
I agree. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried the Flames are going to shit the bed on that.
Me too, because we've seen the Flames sort of play down to the competition in years past. But anything less than 9 points out of a possible 10 against Ottawa coming up here, that's unacceptable. And then you have at the opposite end of the spectrum here, Toronto, as much as we hate to say it, seems to be separating themselves from the pack here. They have been the most complete team so far. They're getting the goaltending from Anderson. The defensive zone has been real good for them. They haven't been quite as flashy this year, but I'm sure they'll take it with sort of their defensive game coming into form here. But and then obviously up front, Austin Matthews on an absolute tear.
Yeah, kid's good.
He might win the Rocket.
Yeah, he's lighting it up. Seems to have found another level. which is hard to say because he was like one of the top 10 players in the NHL. I mean, consistently for the last couple of years. So he seems to be on another level there. Marner is on another level right now too. I mean, feeding Matthews left, right, and center. He's the beneficiary of that. I think a lot of it is actually Marner driving the offense for that line. But yeah, no, they look good. What else can you say? I mean, they're 11-2. They're winning the games they used to lose. So I mean, the Leafs from the past 2 years were we're going to blow your socks off and beat you by 3 or 4 goals, or we're going to lose by 4 goals because we're terrible defensively. Now they're winning 1-goal games. I mean, they won 2 1-goal games against the Flames. I mean, they I think the last game Montreal was 4-2. Outside of the blowout of Vancouver when they won 5-1, they're not blowing teams out. They're just playing good hockey, good competitive, good in both zones, good transition game, good pressure on the back checks. They look like a complete team right now, which pains me to say that about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I know the rest of Canada is like, crap. They're good.
They're good. And with their Achilles heel not being Boston, not being in the division this year, they have a real shot to do something this year. So I hope the 67-year Stanley Cup drought doesn't end for you Maple Leafs fans. I'm not going to lie, but this year could be the year if it continues in this trend.
At least one of our predictions is held up, eh? We both predicted Toronto would finish first.
Yeah.
And we're finally on the right end of one for a change. But anything else from the North Division, or you want to move on to the rest of the league?
I mean, Winnipeg's playing well. They're 8-4. They're a pretty damn good team. They did better than I thought. We've talked about the Oilers already. On 1-6-7, the only loss was to us last weekend. Calgary is going to have to keep pace with them. So over the next 10 games, I think we play Vancouver 3 more times, and then the rest Ottawa, and then there's a game against the Oilers thrown in there as well, or 2 games against the Oilers maybe. I agree. They got to take them all because all the other teams are doing that. So you cannot give Ottawa another win. You have to. I would say you have to take 10 out of 10, but I mean realistically, Ottawa might take it to an overtime or something like that. Because they did. They played Edmonton 2 days ago or 3 days ago. They were the better team that game, but it was actually Mike Smith that won it for Edmonton that game. They outshot the Oilers by almost 20 shots or something like that, which is crazy. But it's going to be a rough year in Ottawa. I think, what are they on pace for? 8 wins?
8 wins. 8 wins. Which obviously, because of the shortened season, would probably be the lowest total in NHL history. I think that translates out to about 14 wins in a 82 game season, something like that, which obviously is still horrendous. Would be historically bad, but we saw it. I don't know if I predicted them being this bad. I thought they would give more teams fits, but they're a laydown right now. They're an absolute laydown.
Well, when you this will put it in perspective. Vancouver's lost 6 games in a row, and they're still 7 points ahead of Ottawa. That's how bad they are.
And they looked like an elite team when they played Ottawa.
Yes, they did.
And I think it was the boys on Overdrive, Brian Hayes, Noodles, and McLennan, Noodles and Jeff O'Neill. They were saying like it almost comes with an asterisk right now beating Ottawa. Like Vancouver has 3 other wins against Ottawa. If you take away their Ottawa wins, they look really, really bad. So maybe a little we're piling up on Ottawa a little bit, but when you're that bad, I guess it's deserved. But maybe we should.
Ottawa's got some talent, though. I did actually watch, I think, a period and a half of the Oilers-Ottawa game, just to see what some of the new talent on Ottawa was doing, how they were playing. Really impressed with that Brandstrom kid. Man, he's going to be good. I mean, he just needs a little bit more maturation time in the NHL. But every time he had the puck, I noticed him. So he flies up the boards, great puck handler, great skater, makes a few boneheaded plays every once in a while just because he's new. I mean, Dalamaki's doing the same thing for Calgary. So I think you can build around him and Shabbat on the back end for sure. And, I was impressed with Stützle too. He was throwing his weight around. There's a fair bit of young talent up front on Ottawa. They just have to put it all together. But let's be honest, Matt Murray is looking like the flop of the free agency period. Man, he is not doing good.
Just let this sink in. He's making more money than Markstrom.
I know. That's crazy. Pierre Dorion makes hockey decisions.
Yeah, there you go. Knew that was coming. I still don't understand that one. But shall we move on to the rest of the league roundup? We'll get to our surprises and disappointments here. Some very surprising entries in the surprises, of course. Do you want to start off with the team that we thought was going to be historically bad after we saw their start to the season? A little bit of a resurgence here. The Chicago Blackhawks. Look at this. They're 3
points out of first in that division.
3 points out of the first, and they have found a goalie, it looks like. Kevin Lankinen, and I've heard rumors about this kid from Finland, about him being sort of the future in goal in Chicago. But when coming into the season, it was all about Delia and Malcolm Subban. But Lankinen has taken the net and run with it. I'm just going to look up his numbers, but what are you seeing on the Blackhawks right now?
I haven't watched a lot of their hockey. I'm not going to lie. I did check out, of course, all the highlight packages, because this Kevin Lankinen kid has been all the rage in hockey, Twitter, and media these days. But one thing that needs to be said, they're doing this without Jonathan Toews too, which is pretty crazy. And their power play is killer. They're third best power play in the league right now, firing at 36.2%. So don't take a penalty against Chicago, or else they'll make you pay for it.
Yeah, it's decent.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Patrick Kane looks to be back in his old form too. He's got 20 points already in the season, 7 goals, 13 assists. So don't sleep on Chicago. They could surprise a few people.
And which we didn't see coming, because me and you kind of both ripped them on after the first few games. But Lankinen, I got the numbers here: 2.55 goals against, 924 save percentage. Is that good?
Yeah, that's kind of good, especially for a rookie.
Definitely. So
they're beating good teams too. They're beating good teams. They, they kind of blew it against Columbus last night. Let in a couple late goals, but they beat Dallas 2-1. They outscored the Hurricanes 6-4. And they beat Columbus at the end of the month there with a convincing 3-1 victory too. So it's not like they're beating it's not like they're beating the lower half of that division and losing to the upper half. They're beating the top teams in that division. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very intrigued about the Blackhawks. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and I think especially after some of the moves this offseason, and then you saw Jonathan Toews, of course, having health issues. So hopefully everything's going okay there. We haven't really.
This is also without Kirby Dach too.
Yeah, exactly. Kirby Dach injuring himself at the World Juniors.
And Nylander too.
Yeah, and DeBrincat has really showed up this year. He sort of, after a good 18-19 season, he sort of fell back down a little bit last year. But he has returned to form, 15 points in 11 games. And also, another guy I want to talk about here. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn, but
I'm going to do it anyways.
But now, I've heard many different pronunciations on this name, but I've heard Pius Suter. I remember watching the 2016 World Juniors and playing for Switzerland in that tournament. I'm like, this kid's good. He's dynamite, and he went undrafted. He played for the Guelph Storm in 2014-15, had 72 points in 61 games, including 43 goals. Not the biggest guy. He's only 5'9", about 180. So, fairly average in terms of his height and weight, but has found a role here. He played the last 7 seasons, it looks like, 6 or 7 seasons in the top Swiss league. Including was a teammate of Austin Matthews when Austin Matthews went to Zurich to play for the Lions there in his draft year. But he's always put up solid numbers, and I always kept kind of keeping my eye on him because I'm like, I just kept thinking of him in the 2016 World Juniors. Like, he was dynamic in that tournament. He had 4 points in 6 games and was really the reason a lot of the time that Switzerland was in games in that tournament. And he just kind of kept sticking in my head. I'm like, why isn't this kid in the NHL? Like, why is no team giving him a chance? And of course, it's the Blackhawks that find this diamond in the rough. No AHL time, just went straight to the Swiss League, and now he's in the NHL. 9 points in 15 games, including 6 goals, and we saw a hat trick earlier this year. So nice to see him finally get his big break here with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I mean, those are how you become a good team. Detroit was always good at finding those people. Like Zetterberg came out of a men's league in Sweden, not even an elite league.
Yeah.
You have to have that scouting prowess to bring these players in. Like, I mean, so looks like they found a good one. Another player off Chicago that needs mention is Kubalik too. He's steadily quietly having a good season. Not in the goal department. He's only got 3 goals, but he's got 9 assists, 12 points, third in scoring on the Blackhawks. And they're going to get Kirby Dach back soon too. So they could creep up there. I'm very surprised to even be talking about them in the running right now, but that's what happens when you get hot goaltending.
Yeah. Goaltending is obviously it's been a bit of a theme this episode after we were gushing over Markstrom and now gushing over Kevin Lankinen. And you mentioned Kubalik. He's definitely carried his play forward from his impressive rookie season. Of course, was up for the Calder last year, 30 goals in 68 games. Obviously, you mentioned the goals haven't quite been on pace as they were last year, but still contributing and still a young guy at 25. And they look like they found a couple. I just used this phrase or this term a couple minutes ago, but another diamond in the rough for the Chicago Blackhawks and Kubalik. So they're making noise. Anything else on them, or do you want to move on to the next team that we have in our surprises here?
Let's move on.
All right. Another team that we didn't really give a lot of praise to before the season, the Florida Panthers. Yeah. What is this? Yeah, 8-1-1? 8-1-2
now.
Like, yeah, I mean, this?
Who would have saw this coming? Not me, because most of their, not most, but a good chunk of their offensive talent moved on from the team with Hoffman and Dadonov going to Ottawa, which he's regretting that move, although he is getting paid. But yeah, no, I did not. I thought they would be, 4th, 5th, challenging maybe for that last playoff spot in the. Well, oh God, what division is this? The Discover Central division.
Yeah, the Discover Central.
But I did not anticipate them to be right on Tampa Bay's heels. Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? Huberdeau, they picked up Hornquist from Pittsburgh late last year. Bobrovsky has not been good, but has, been okay.
They've sort of been good in spite of Bobrovsky. Chris Drieger, who, if you didn't know, former Calgary Hitman, has really come into his own here. 197 goals against average and a 937 save percentage. Now, only 5 games, but that's got to be tough to see if you're Bobrovsky. He's played almost as much games as you, and he's very, very, very outperformed you so far.
Definitely.
But, I'm sure Bobrovsky's not too upset counting his $10 million a year. But
yeah, exactly.
Also kind of off the radar, Carter Verhaeghe coming out of nowhere, leading the team in goals with 7, almost a point a game at 10 points in 11 games. So definitely picking up the slack left by Hoffman and Dadonov there. And one of the things that I think maybe has happened with Florida here, the whole Keith Yandel situation at the beginning, obviously there was lots of controversy because he was a reported healthy scratch for the first game, and then he wasn't scratched and ended up playing. Maybe that sort of brought the team together a little bit. Maybe the players sort of, came to his defense, and they're just really clicking, and they're a tight group right now, and it's sort of showing on the ice. And I mean, I'm sure Gary Bettman's happy to see a Florida team that's not named the Tampa Bay Lightning doing well.
Yeah, no kidding.
But,
well, I mean, I think, I mean, you rally around people like that too, especially because from all reports, I don't know the guy, but Keith Yando's a pretty good guy.
Hilarious. He's always on Spit and Chicklets, and he's hilarious.
But I think why they're successful is they got 4 or 5 players that are rolling right now. I mean, Huberdeau's leading the team with 15 points, 4 goals, 11 assists. Barkov, 4 goals, 8 assists. Hornquist has 11 points already, which it's got to be close to his total for Pittsburgh last year. Yeah. And then Carter Verhaeghe, or however you said that. Verhaeghe. He's got 10 points. Ekblad's got 9 points. Yandel's got 8. Anthony Duclair's got 6 points on the Panthers. So there's they're getting a lot of depth scoring. It's not just the two. It's not just Barkov and Huberdeau. It's been spread around a little bit. So it's I think that's probably why they're having some of the success. They have a killer power play too. They have the second best power play in the NHL, 36.7%. So can't get much better than that. I don't know who number 1 in the NHL is right now, to be honest. But they got to be really lighting the lamp to beat 36.7% on the power play. One thing
might be Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll look that up.
One thing they're going to have to clean up in Florida is the goals against per game, for sure, as you were alluding to with Bobrovsky, because they're 12th in the NHL for goals per game at 3.27, but they're also 10th in goals against. So they've got to clean that up if they want to sustain this. But who would have saw this coming? Not me. I'll be the first to admit, not me.
And we actually mentioned at the beginning of the season that it's never an issue of offense with Florida. We know they can put the puck in the net. It's can they keep the puck out with the D zone, and then obviously Bobrovsky struggling in his time as a Florida Panther. So that was the question mark going into the season. But they look like they have sort of figured things out here. But you want to move on to the next surprise? I believe we have the Anaheim Ducks in here.
Who would have saw this coming too? I mean, they're not lighting the lamp by any means, but they're doing a lot better than we thought they would.
Yes, and they're actually, as of right now, sitting in a playoff spot. Now there is a little bit of an asterisk. They do have the most games played in that division by at least 2 on every team, including Colorado has 4 games in hand on them.
Yeah, that's because of the COVID stuff.
Yeah, because of the old Rona there. But they are ahead of Arizona, and in what was it? Well, what am I trying to say? In no large part due to John Gibson.
Yeah, he's having another stellar year, as per usual. I mean, he is the reason why they're at 500, at 6-6 in that. What's that division called? West Division. Oh man, these division names are throwing me off. But they're getting some contributions in Anaheim from sources that I didn't know that they would come from. For example, Max Comtois has got 8 points already in 15 games, leading the team. Getzlaf only has 6 points. That's crazy. Hampus Lindholm, Rickard Rakell, Carter Rowney, Nick Delorier, they're all on the board. And then you get to someone who you expect to be near the top in Anaheim with Silfverberg, and he's halfway down the list here for points. So they're not scoring a lot, but yet they're 6-6. What does that tell you? A goal.
Johnny Gibson with a 2.26 goals against and a 9.23 save percentage, including 3 shutouts already in 12 games. So yeah, he's probably the early front runner, if not at least top 3 for the Vezina so far. Especially if they make the playoffs, best believe John Gibson is going to be nominated for the Vezina, which is good to see. He's been good for a long time and sort of been under the radar in Anaheim with how bad they've been the past couple seasons. But he's a top tier goaltender in this league, and he's showing it this year. And hopefully he gets his recognition with a Vezina nomination.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at some of the team stats, and they're quite telling, actually. They're 30th in the NHL for goals per game, 1.93. So pretty much there's only one team worse, and we know who that is.
Ottawa.
Ottawa, probably, yes. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming. Their power play is abysmal at 8%. They're 29th in the league.
Oof.
But for the defensive stats, they're amongst the best. So goals against per game, they're 6th in the NHL. Thank you, John Gibson, 2.53. And then their penalty kill actually is quite good too. It's 3rd in the league at 87%. So they're doing things right in one zone. Don't know if there's a lot of talent on Anaheim to up those offensive numbers, but if the best offense or the best, a good offense is a good defense. You know what I mean? That's not the saying. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what the saying is. The best offense is a good defense.
There you go. Thanks, you owe me a Coke.
I still don't think they'll make the playoffs, unfortunately. Minnesota, I had as the 4th seat in that division, and I still think that's going to be the case. They've been kind of delayed with COVID and stuff too. Anyone playing the Blues and the Avalanche and Vegas, to be honest, has played way less games. So they have 4 games in hand on Anaheim, and they're only 3 points behind them. But yeah, no, it's. I didn't expect to see Anaheim that far up the standing, so it definitely was a surprise for me.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if they can outduel the Coyotes and the Wild for that final playoff spot, because we believe that the top 3 spots are pretty much claimed with the Blues, Knights, and Avalanche, and it's going to be a battle between the Coyotes, the Ducks, and the Wild for that 4th spot. And the Sharks might get in there too, but not playing so well this season. But want to move on to the disappointments now. I think that was it for surprises. Let me see here. Disappointments. I want to start with the New York Rangers. This is the team, I believe I had them finishing 3rd in this division. They are struggling, as a famous New York athlete once said in a drunken interview. I don't know if you know what that soundbite is from. A little Joe Namath interview when he was drunk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do remember that.
I could care less about the team struggling. But yes, the New York Rangers, in no thanks to a very, very, very disappointing rookie season this far for the number 1 overall pick, Alexis Lafreniere, just 1 goal in 13 games, and that's it. 1 goal, -5. Obviously, young kid, but with being the 1st overall pick, you expect more than 1 goal in 13 games.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure New York was banking on that too. Their 2nd overall pick the year before that is not playing very well either, Capo Caco. So when you put both of those together, they still have a lot of talent on this team. Don't get me wrong. Panarin's lighting it up. But outside of Panarin, it falls off pretty quickly. So,
especially with Mika Zibanejad falling off an absolute cliff. He's only got 3 points so far. Believe he was on pace for at least 40 goals last year, if I'm not mistaken. He scored 41 in 57 games, and he's only got 1 so far. So maybe the chemistry is not right there with Zibanejad and Lafreniere. They haven't really figured it out yet, but definitely been a disappointment there in New York.
Yeah, Chris Kreider only has 4 points.
Yeah,
and they've played like 12 games or 13 games already. So it's they got to start putting the puck in the net. That's for sure if they want to do anything. I don't. To be honest, don't watch a lot of New York Ranger hockey, especially now that they're not playing anyone from Canada.
Yeah, hard to get New York Ranger games here.
Yeah, definitely hard to get Ranger games up here. But definitely they're struggling for sure.
Obviously, the situation with Tony DeAngelo probably didn't help things. He's not playing with the team right now, and sort of created some drama there off the ice. So maybe a case of the team not quite all on the same page, but hopefully they figure out so that my prediction comes true, but not really looking very positive on that one right now.
They got 4 players injured right now too as of yesterday. Jack Johnson, Brendan Smith, Colin Blackwell, and Panarin is hurt now too. So, day-to-days. They're just day-to-day though.
Probably the lone bright spot for them other than Panarin, obviously. Adam Fox, as we know, that one's going to sting. Looking like a true top 4 defenseman and a power play quarterback, third on the team in scoring. So that one's a little bit tough to hear as a Flames fan, but we knew he was good, and he's showing it there in New York for the Rangers. Moving on, our second disappointment, we have the Nashville Predators.
Bum, 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 bum.
AKA the curse of Matt Duchene. What is going on in Nashville here? It just seems like the losing follows Duchene everywhere he goes.
Don't mean to toot my own horn, but I kind of called this.
Yeah.
I called the demise of the Nashville Predators this year. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Duchene seems to be a cancer. I don't know anything about the guy, but I mean, he took Colorado down, he took Ottawa down, now he's doing it to Nashville too.
And of course, that video of him in the cab with the Ottawa players doesn't help his reputation there. Sort of, dissing the coaches over and over again in that video about how he's not really learning anything. So maybe not the best attitude. And then, of course, another reason, UC Saros, who we all pegged as the heir apparent to the goaltending position in Nashville when Pekka Rinne is obviously coming towards the end of his career here. He has struggled this year. Tell me if these numbers are bad. A 368 goals against average in 8 games and an 881 save percentage.
Wow.
Can you confirm if that's bad or not?
Yeah, that's kind of bad. That's really bad.
So has been very, very outplayed.
Especially because that's like half of their games too. So
exactly.
that's bad.
Yeah, that's not a small sample size in relation to how many games they played. And also Ryan Johansson, this guy, I should say, he is 28 now. Supposed to be the number 1 center, even with Matt Duchene coming in. Johansson, I've always viewed as a guy who's so full of talent, like just has electrifying talent, but seems to be very fair weather. Like he comes and goes in terms of his attitude.
Effort's not there every night, that's for sure.
And his engagement, his intensity, his compete level seems to come and go. He's got all the talent. He's the hands. He's 6'3", 220. We've seen him put up big numbers, but only 4 points in 10 games so far. Definitely a big reason why the Nashville Predators are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, you got Forsberg, obviously their offensive dynamo in Nashville. 13 points in 14 games, not bad. Outside of that, it drops off in a hurry. The next leading point getter is Yossi, probably all power play points for the most part, but he only has 8 points in 14 games. And then it's Arvidsson and Duchene and Granlund with 7. So it drops off quite quickly, and that's definitely what's going on in Nashville. They're not putting the puck in the net, and it looks like they're not keeping it out of the net either. So
just definitely all around poor play in Nashville so far.
With a league worst penalty kill at 65% too. That's bad.
That's really bad.
That's really bad.
And then also almost equally as bad, especially in their past 7 games so far, the Dallas Stars 1-3-3 in their last 7 games after coming out guns a-blazing in true Texas fashion. They have really fallen off a cliff.
See what I did there?
But the Stars haven't been looking so pretty. 1-3-3, as I mentioned, in their last 7 games, falling to 5th place in the Central Division, or 6th place, behind Carolina and even Chicago, as we mentioned earlier. But their overall record isn't bad, 5-3-3, and of course they did have those COVID struggles at the beginning of the year, but just especially recently they've really struggled. Just kind of tough to tell what's going on with Dallas there.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Dallas. I think it might have been some of this might be the division reorg. They're playing against a few new teams, although they were in the Central Division before, which was a pretty stacked division. So, I mean, this is Dallas though. They're pretty streaky. They go on runs where they win, 14 out of 15, or 14 out of like 18 games kind of thing, and then they'll lose. 8 out of 10. It's just the way that they've always been. So, I mean, they got to pick it up offensively a little bit. They're being led by Joe Pavelski. So those Sagan and Ben, they got to start stepping it up.
He has been on fire this year. Of course, the year that I don't have him in my fantasy team. Just a little dig there. I had him last year, and of course, he got off to a very slow start, but of course they are without their number one center in Tyler Seguin. We should mention that, still recovering from hip surgery, I believe, in the offseason. So I'm not sure of what the timeline is for him. I'm sure he's probably going to be back within the next couple of weeks, I imagine. But
that would be why I can't find him on the list here.
Yeah.
but when you think about it, because what's Jamie Benn getting paid? Isn't he like 8 million or something like that?
Yeah, he's between 8 and 9, I think, for
9 million.
Mm-hmm. And he has missed some time here. I think he was on the COVID list too.
Oh, you're right. He's only played 7 games. That might be why. Sorry, I didn't see that. I was going to say, I'm just going through their stats here, and you got Pavelski, Gurianov, Klingberg, Radulov, Hintz, and Heiskanen ahead of him for points. So, but I just realized he's played half the games, and the rest of the people have too. So, not as bad as I thought he was going to be, as I thought he was doing. Again, being out half the season, pretty much for Dallas. But it's story of Dallas. They're super streaky.
Mm-hmm. And one more disappointment in our list here. I know you wanted to touch on this real quick. The Vegas Golden Knights, and no, it's not because of their play on the ice. They're number one in the Central Division, or Honda West Division. It's for those golden helmets they were wearing the other night.
Disgusting. The only golden helmet that looked good was Fleury's.
Yeah, in goal. That one looked pretty good. My opinion is they're okay for like once in a while, which I think is what it'll be. But if they go to those full time,
this isn't football.
I mean, if any team should do it in the AHL, it's Vegas. Obviously,
yeah, it kind of fits their motif for sure.
But yeah, definitely a lot sharper with just the plain gray helmets or black helmets, whatever they were. But definitely,
their retro jersey, although retro being only there for 3 years, is gross too. I'm a huge fan of the Vegas gray jerseys. I think they're one of the nicest jerseys in the league. And I love their logo. Vegas's logo is pretty sweet too. So I just was shocked to see that. I'm like, what is this, like a European team out there? What the heck is going on?
Yeah, we see the golden helmet before in European leagues where the team's top scorer wears the golden helmet. We actually saw close to home here Juuso Välimäki wear the golden helmet when he started the season over in Finland. But yeah, the whole team wearing golden helmets. So bit of a rough look there. Probably
it's a swing and a miss for me.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
But I think that wraps it up for disappointments. We should move on to our reoccurring segment. It's been pretty popular so far. We have a lot of fun doing it.
Definitely.
The hashtag OTI top 5. Last week it was Super Bowl snacks. Did you actually get to talk or eat any of those snacks during the game?
I did. Yeah.
Which ones?
Had my homemade pizza, which was number 2 on my list. Definitely had some buffalo wings and some barbecue wings as well. That was number 1. And I had buffalo chicken dip as well. So we went all out for Super Bowl this year because, I mean, what else are you going to do? It's COVID. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, I actually got the wife hooked on buffalo chicken dip too. She's like, "Why have I never eaten this? This is so good."
Yeah, definitely not the healthiest thing to ingest, but it's just so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
If you know, you know. I was only able to sample 2 of my top 5. I had a couple Ryan Cokes and some Ruffles all dressed chips.
There you go. Nice.
So that's what I was able to
I
sample.
thought you were
but-
PB positive.
Oh yeah, peanut butter cup positive. Didn't have any, just didn't have any lying around the house as I normally do, but wasn't able to get any. But nevertheless, the game is good, so didn't have those. But that was last week. Now it's this week. You want to tell them what we got for our topic this week?
Yeah, so we're going to do our top 5 picks for the 2022 men's Canadian Olympic team. And by top 5, we're picking the top line here. So top 3 forwards and top 2 defensemen. Adam and I both agree there's one obvious choice in goal, and that's Carey Price. So
Yep.
we're going to leave him off for now, but we're going to pick our basically our top line for Team Canada in the Olympics next year.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to start? Do you want me to start? What do you want to do?
You go ahead and start.
All right.
Which side are we starting from, the left wing or the right wing?
I'm actually going to start with the most important position of the forward line. That's the center iceman.
Okay. Thanks.
Just in case you wanted to explain, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to expect a name here, and I'm going to deliver. It's Connor McDavid. There's no doubt about it. He's the leading scorer in the NHL. He's the best offensive player in the NHL. He needs to be on the top line for my team anyway. So number 1 center, Connor McDavid. What else can we say about him at this point? Just absolutely sick skill and speed and skill. So what?
Nothing.
Oh. So my number 1 center is going to be Connor McDavid. McJesus himself.
McJesus himself. Yeah, I mean, definitely the best raw talent in the game for sure. Although I would argue not the greatest, or I'd say not the greatest, not the best all-around player in the NHL, in my opinion.
No.
Definitely for raw skill and talent and speed, no one can skate like him. So I went a different direction for my top line.
I was expecting you to be
I did not pick McDavid, although I would definitely put McDavid on the Olympic team. He would be centering my second line for sure. Just with a few other players that I would put him with that I think would complement him a little bit better than who I picked for the top line. But I went a little bit off the board. I went with Brayden Point as centering my top line.
Like it?
Just his performance in the playoffs last year, where he pretty much carried Tampa Bay to the Stanley Cup, outside of Hedman, of course. I'm talking the forward ranks. He's off to a blistering start in the league this year. He's got 16 points in 12 games. Just a big game performer. You know what you're getting from him. He's the speedy, super skilled. Does not shy to get into the dirty areas and score goals. Not shy to muck it up. And he's a local Calgary boy, so I had to show him some love there. So yeah, centering my top line for Team Canada would be Brayden Point. Went with the youth.
Nice. I like where your head's at, because so number 4 here, my first line right winger, I've actually bumped up Brayden Point. I've pushed him out to the wing to get him onto this top line. I pushed him out to the wing. So on my right wing, I think with Team Canada here, you're going to see a lot of centermen playing on the wing, just to ensure that you get your top 12 guys out there. So I've gone with Brayden Point as my first line right wing. All the things you mentioned, of course. I think it'd be a good fit with McDavid on that top line. So Brayden Point is my first line right winger.
Yeah, I didn't mix them up position-wise. I just picked their normal position that they play. So
well, that would have been the easy thing to do, Evan. You gotta stir the pot.
You gotta stir the pot a little bit, eh? Okay, so
just bugging you.
I know. You just it's hilarious, but okay. For starting right winger on my top line for Team Canada next year, the one and only Nathan MacKinnon. Braden Point and him would be a very nice complement to each other. They play the same style of game. McKinnon's a little bit more aggressive at some points, but I think they would be a handful to play against. And when I reveal my left winger, I think you're going to agree that this line would be just a hell to play against. But of course, what do you need to say about Nathan MacKinnon? He's got 14 points in 10 games this year, though he is on the injured list right now. Pretty much carried Colorado to the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago. Or was that last year? No, 2 years ago.
No, they haven't been in the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, sorry, Western Conference Final is what I meant.
Western Conference Final, yeah.
Yes, Western Conference Final. Lost out to San Jose, but definitely rolled over Calgary when they were the first seed 2 years ago.
Boy.
I would say one player rolled over Calgary, and that's Nathan MacKinnon. He is my pick for the number one all-around player in the NHL. It's MacKinnon. I think he edges out McDavid. I've said that since day one in this podcast. I don't think there's anybody that can take over a game. Now, I might catch some heat for this, like Nathan MacKinnon. Connor McDavid can do it, but Connor McDavid hasn't proven that he can do it consistently. Nathan MacKinnon has, in my opinion. He's my pick for starting line right winger for Team Canada in 2022.
All right, you did the same thing as me, just different player. MacKinnon would be my second center or second line. I mean, it's like 1A, 1B, really. But yeah, so MacKinnon would be my second line center. For my left winger on the top line, went with a little bit of a different look here. I'm not sure where you're going to go here, but you got the blistering speed and skill of McDavid. You got the compete level and the all-around tenacity with Braden Point on the right. I got the equally skilled and grit of Brad Marchand.
That makes two of us.
Oh, you do have him as well.
Yep.
Okay, so we, in terms of all-around players, Marchand really rises to the top. He's not really elite at one thing, but he's very, very, very good in almost every aspect of the game. He can set up. He can set up his line mates. He can score on the power play with one-timers. He's not
get
the
under
fastest.
People's skin.
Of course. He's not. You're never going to get lack of effort from him, and gets under players' skin, as you mentioned. So, Brad Marchand, my left winger on the top line for Team Canada.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I chose him as well. Not obviously, I shouldn't say that, but off to a good start this year as well. 16 points in 13 games. I mean, this last 4 seasons, he's been 80-plus points. 5 seasons. 4 seasons. He's been 80-plus points. Continues to be better and better each game. Can you imagine a top line of Point, MacKinnon, and Marchand? They would be a nightmare to play against. That's a lot of compete on one line. I'll tell you that right now. They would just drive other teams crazy. So that's my top line. Marchand on the left, Point down the middle, and MacKinnon on the right.
All right. So we'll move on to the defensive pairing. Some parallels there on the top line for us. I'm going to do my defensive pairing together here, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit because they go together. I can't mention one without the other, and that is Shea Theodore with Alex Pietrangelo as my top
Who
pairing.
I picked too.
Oh, no! We did not discuss this prior. Obviously,
no, we did not. We did not.
We picked the topic prior to starting the recording here, but we did not know each other's picks. So I guess I just ruined it for both of us here. But Shea Theodore, I believe, is the best left-handed Canadian defenseman in the NHL right now. And I think Alex Pietrangelo is the best right-handed pair or right-handed defenseman. So obviously they play together in Vegas. It would just make sense to bring that continuity. You want some of that. We saw it a few years back. Who was it? Keith and Seabrook in 2010. They wanted to keep that continuity together, including Crosby and Kunitz. They knew they worked well together. So that's my reasoning for having Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo, two of the elite level defensemen in the NHL. So they are my defensive pairing.
Yeah, I mean, Pietrangelo is captain material for the team. If you don't give it to like Sid or someone like that, I agree. Why mess with one of the best defensive? Well, I would actually call them the best defensive pairings in the NHL. They're used to playing with each other. They know where everyone or where each other is going to be all the time. Shea Theodore, I agree with you, is definitely the best left shot Canadian defenseman. Makes the game look easy. For some reason, I don't know how he does it, but he makes it look almost nonchalant. He's that good. Mm-hmm. Really came to fruition in the bubble playoffs and the down the stretch run there for Vegas, where people really started to notice him. Kind of came out of nowhere, but definitely one of the best defensemen in the NHL these days. And I mean, everyone wanted Pietrangelo on their team. I'm pretty sure every team in the NHL inquired about Pietrangelo when his name was being shopped. Maybe except for St. Louis, obviously. I don't know what the hell they were doing there, but
still don't get it.
Yeah, I still don't get it either. But yeah, no, I mean, we're on the same page. Those are the two best defensemen, our Canadian defensemen right now, and they play together, so the chemistry is going to be there already. So, no brainer in my opinion.
All right, I like it. So, just a quick recap: I got Marchand on the left, I got McDavid up the middle, I got Braden Point on the right, I have Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo on the back end, and of course, Carey Price in net.
Yes, and for me, I have Marchand on the left. I got Braden Point up the middle, and I have Nathan MacKinnon on the right. Also, Marchand and McKinnon are buddy. They're from Nova Scotia, both of them too, so a little chemistry there. They, they play each other or train together in the off season all the time. And then on the back end, Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo too. All and right. Carey Price, but Carey Price is a no-brainer. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that is our look at what our starting lineups would be for the upcoming 2022 Team Canada Olympic team. Nice to be talking about putting together an Olympic team. Obviously, 2018 in where were the Olympics that year? Not Sochi. They were in Korea, South Korea, in Pyeongchang.
Oh no, we were at Pyeongchang. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Pyeongchang, which was nice to see, an amateur team or the non-professional players, but nice to get the NHL players back in there, truly make it a best on best tournament. And maybe later in the season or in the off season, we'll give our full lineups for Team Canada, which will be exciting to get to. But I think as of now, that wraps up the show. Lots of talk on this one. Flames, 3 straight wins, hoping to keep it going against the Canucks.
Edmonton, 6 out of 7, some good hockey in the North Division.
Exactly. It's going to be right down to the wire, especially for those last 2 spots. Looks like Montreal and Toronto have sort of separated themselves, and then those last 2 playoff spots are going to be a battle. Just a quick reminder that Rocky Mountain Barbecue Catering is the sponsor of our podcast. It is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Barbecue Catering. Visit their website at www.rockymountainbarbecue.ca to request a free quote for your event. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages and shoot us an email if you want us to discuss certain topics on all the major platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at offtheironpodcast. Our Gmail, offtheironpodcast@gmail.com, and of course on YouTube, Off the Iron Podcast. Anything else? Any final words, Evan, or you want to just cue the music and get out of here, or what?
Like always, keep your head up. Oh my God, man, I'm tired today. Keep your head up, folks out there. I know it's a lot of tough times. out there. A lot of people out of work, a lot of people having some challenges in their day-to-day lives. So definitely keep your head up. Hopefully the end is in sight with this COVID thing, and we can all get back to doing what we love to do. So keep your head up. We appreciate the listens from everyone out there that's been listening. And I think with that, if you have nothing to add, Adam, we'll cue the music.
Nope. Just thanks for listening, folks, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.